AT&T invested a lot of money trying to be an entertainment company through Warner Bros. So they ended up fucking up both. ChatGPT now, when you ask it questions over, it's a political monkey. It's trying to play around the questions, not giving straight answers. And no, I don't want you to kiss my ass. I want you to answer the question. This is a traumatized organization that is coming from 3-4 mergers, joining an organization that is totally on freedom. The next war is already happening in front of us. It's a $2,000 drone disturbing the whole communication of everything. And Motorola is critical in that.
All right, we're back on air with Mr. Amir Abdelazim in the house. Amir, what's going on this week? What's on your mind? What are we going to talk about?
Good to see you again, Alex.
Likewise,
always lovely. Just quickly, like every time, 3 top stories that I enjoyed, and then we're gonna dig deeper a little bit on how it is being done. So I hope we have selected 3 nice stories for this week.
That's right.
Biggest one everyone is talking almost everywhere is like Netflix acquiring Warner Brothers Discovery, the WPD. Very interesting story, yeah? You know how much I love Netflix and read and how
a lot of people do, so that's going to have big potential implications.
Yes, and then a second story is back to my industry. We talk a little bit about Motorola and what they're doing. They have a very interesting acquisition this month.
And it's not Motorola Razr, is it?
No,
Motorola Razr. Okay.
Not the Razr. I think it has its own success and glory and nostalgia, but it's not the Razr.
That's right.
And then unfortunately, we cannot have one episode without talking about OpenAI. So OpenAI red coat, we can chit chat a little bit about it.
That's right.
Are you exciting to kick it off?
And maybe before we kick in, for anybody who's listening to the show, first of all, thank you. We do get some nice comments, and just want to have a quick reminder: follow us on LinkedIn. This is the place where Amir probably shares the most, and this is where we post all of the episodes clips so you can stay up to date with us. And of course, please make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube as well. So we have short clips, we have full podcasts. So I think that's also something that you should check out. Now, the first story, it's all over the news, Amir. Netflix is buying Warner Brothers, which are responsible for a lot of the movies, a lot of the favorite shows that we have today. A lot of the comic characters and HBO. And, we talked about in the past Blockbuster versus Netflix. And you had some very interesting leadership lessons of what Blockbuster did wrong, what Netflix did right. Now, Netflix is actually the current Blockbuster before it went bust. No pun intended. So are they playing the right strategy in this case? What are the leadership lessons there if you want to focus on Warner Brothers versus Netflix? But yeah, maybe in general, we can draw it back to, is Netflix as well doing the right thing? And what are your thoughts?
I don't know if they're doing the right thing with this acquisition, but it's very interesting actually angle to when you're thinking about this acquisition specifically. But before I talk about Netflix, because we have to spend time about what is really Netflix is trying to do here, I want to talk a little bit about Warner Brothers Discovery themselves. Why this giant is being sold. It's very intriguing, right? And there's a lot of people backing this industry, and like you're not talking about a small company. You're talking about Superman, Batman, whatever. Like all the characters that we're talking about. Game of Thrones, Casablanca. Like, what the hell?
Just the IP. Like, maybe just to emphasize, just the IP of all of those shows and names alone. The amount of toys and books and spin-offs and studios and sequels and series that are made off of that. I mean, it's billions and billions worth of value, right?
Like, I don't know, roller coasters, big, almost Disneyland on its own in Dubai, Warner Brother, they're like...
So how could a company like this be in a position where they're being sold potentially?
Yes, this is where it is, because honestly, whether I am going to talk about the strategy of Netflix or not, if this company is up for grab, I will take it. Like, then I see what we need to do, which obviously it looks like they know what they're doing in Netflix, but the big lump, like red lump alerting in my head, how did Warner Brothers end there? And digging deeper, it's actually AT&T that caused this mess. It's an AT&T fiasco, actually. So, and we need to go a little bit back, and it's very interesting leadership lesson here of how Warner Brothers is really being sold. it's also performing. Like Superman movie, the one everyone was criticizing, but we watched Superman,
Right.
like, and they're producing, and it's working. So what the hell? What happened? So scratch a little bit back. AT&T acquired Warner Times during the time where Netflix was kicking the ass of everyone else and trying to be the master of entertainment. Like their mission is clear: we entertain the world. So, and while Netflix was growing, everyone was saying we have to move to digital media. We need to act. We need to move in this way. So Warner Times was trying to move into having a digital footprint for themselves, but also, yeah, you carry a lot. If you're doing merchandise and theme parks and giveaways, this is the whole industry on its own. Like really, like almost like Disney, or even the main competitor of Disney in reality, in this case. And AT&T was also saying the move of the data, and we should not be the dumb pipe. So let us do something great here. Let AT&T acquire Warner Times, the two big parts of this company, and then acting is okay. We're not gonna be the dumb pipe, but together with the power of Hollywood and Warner Times, let's create this giant that can really kick ass to Netflix. And there was a big debt happening here. And this debt is that we need to keep it in our mind when we're talking about this story, because AT&T invested a lot of money trying to be an entertainment company through Warner Bros. So they ended up fucking up both. So they couldn't be that entertainment company, and they couldn't make Warner Times a digital company. So, and think about the triple move here, right? I'm a communication provider, I'm a movie producer and creative, and both of us want to be fighting with Netflix to create a digital platform. That's where it all started in reality. So, and then in my view, it went wrong again on the culture. So, infrastructure company trying to bring a creative industry, trying together to become a digital company, all in the same time. And what? How many people you will release? How many people you will lay off? What's the structure? Where is the digital platform? So invested, I don't know, 50 billion, try to build the digital platform, which Reed have produced in his garage. And this is where the dynamics started happening. Big debt, 82 billion debt. And then AT&T says, okay, let's double down. What we're going to do, we're going to also acquire Discovery. CNN, TNT, and all of the sports, get all of that together. So now, okay, so it's as if it's not really enough. Let's add another genie into the bot. So, and now you have Warner Brother Discovery under AT&T. Let's together become a good new big company that will fight Netflix again. And again, complete culture catastrophe. But at this time, AT&T pulled out, threw the debt into the new entity. They left it with the amazing David Zaslav, and I really like how this guy is dealing with things, to be honest. I know he's brutal, but he pulled good moves here. He's now carrying a company that is somehow on its own is profitable, but it's burdened by a lot of debt. And he needs to integrate it into a new company and start competing into the market. That's when HBO and the Plus, Discovery Plus, they come together, and we're having this CNN. And he worked on a plan over the last few years to start actually get away of this debt or solve this debt issue. Because as I expected, and as everyone expected, Warner Brother as a company is performing well, but it's carrying a lot of debt that is taking it down. So now,
can I jump in there for a second, Amir, just to maybe try to tie this up together, because it's a lot of different pieces involved. But basically, AT&T buys Time Warner, and I guess they're trying to use their leverage in the telecom space as distribution. Would that be like a fair strategic kind of angle?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now, what you're potentially referring to as the culture, maybe the culture of that company is different, that they're not equipped for that digital type of industry, that maybe their advantages in the telecom distribution didn't scale or didn't translate or didn't integrate well with the movie business. Would that be a fair assessment?
The point is, at this point of time, you're trying to play the game of Blockbuster, not Netflix. So relying on the distribution channel of AT&T, you're still playing the game of a shop. I'm not going to go to the shop in
Of course.
1998 or 2004 to buy the DVD again. Yes, I will go to the theater, which Warner Brothers is amazing, which Time Warners or Warner Times are amazing in it. But I'm not going to go to the store again. Both of them were trying to play the same game that already took Blockbuster down.
Right.
But they realized they both need to create a digital platform, which is the Netflix game playbook. But the point is, when you're building a digital platform, it's the last thing you need to care about is the coding and the database and alignment of the library and all of that. Yeah, that's tip number 25,100 in the process. What you need to do first is, what will this company look like in terms of culture, in terms of thoughts, the no rules of Netflix, and putting all of that together, and the ballsy moves and the courage of doing housings. That's what made Netflix, not to put it on a platform. It's so naive to think about it this way. Like Warner Brothers, actually Blockbuster could have started their own digital, right? Easy.
Of course.
Like get 10,000 developers, put them in a room, let's create a platform and we'll be the new big guy. No, it doesn't work. This is not the solution. You need to readjust the brain of the organization to the new culture. So you're right on your conclusion on AT&T trying to leverage the network, but both of them were wrong trying to leverage the network.
Right, right. I guess what I was trying to tie together, because I think there's a connection that, yes, they were trying to, it's probably not the right strategy. As you said, it's not the right company, it's not the right culture to maybe execute that kind of a move. But from a financial standpoint, they acquired Time Warner, I believe it was in 2018. And as you mentioned, they dumped a bunch of debt on them, right? As a kind of a financial strategic move. And then COVID hits. So movie theaters are closed. You cannot sell the merch. You cannot sell the popcorn. You cannot get that kind of a revenue, right? Not as many movies are being made, or movies are paused from being shot because you have limitations. Actors can't travel to certain regions, right? So you have all of this as basically you're over leveraged financially, because not only you got some debt dumped onto you, but now you got all of these deals and movies that can be finished. And would it be my correct understanding that AT&T also over leveraged the whole move from a financial point of view? And with COVID and bad timing, they basically fucked up the financials of the company to the point where it's too big of a hole if you don't have deep enough pockets to dig out of it, right? That you need somebody who can have that financial capability to take ownership of those debts potentially and, invest enough to keep it going, right?
In a way, I admire the move of AT&T. They definitely leveraged a deal and they were courageous to try to say this is where we need to go, but they have done it with over arrogance that they need to do it their own way. This always goes down to this. If you are a hammer, you always look for a nail. And this is where most of the leaders doesn't get it. It is not because my playbook of telco can work on the distribution of telco. It's the same playbook I need to play it on the parallel industry. Maybe yes, maybe no, maybe something in between. But AT&T took the ballsy move to go and buy, it's like, I don't know, if Barcelona goes and buy Real Madrid, as if it can happen. But they really went head on. Let's get the biggest company. Take it. Let's see what we're going to do. And let's see what we're going to do. They should have actually decided to create a completely new mindset and entity. Instead of, they bought 50 billion in a tech stack. It's not their game. And they put all the debt there. But it's a good move to get out with the debt, because they got out as AT&T. They left away the debt and they threw it on a new entity, merged it with Discovery. It's a very famous quote, let's confuse everyone. So they confused everyone, created a new entity, put the debt in it, and they come out of it very clean as AT&T.
But it's just a shame to take such an iconic brand with so many iconic names and movies and not make something better out of it in those, past 6-7 years.
True. It is. It is. It's a big shame. That's why also the second person I admire in this story is David Zaslav, who was a lawyer actually, and started his career like working in different distribution also, but and then ended up in discovery, and then he orchestrated the current plan to try to recover Warner Brother, and playing that whole game now of also restructuring a good deal in reality for the shareholders of Warner Brother Discovery. This is a very good deal. You are getting out with the debt, you're keeping CNN and TNT and the broadcasting network, you're pushing your IP, you're giving it where it should be. In reality, to Netflix, this should have been the game from the beginning for Warner Times. Start leveraging Netflix to broadcast your stuff and move on. Why try to do it yourself? But again, ego. It's good for us. It's okay for us to say it now, but at this point of time, they are Warner Brother, right? We're gonna make it. So I like what David Zaslav did, because the fact that he came in on this total fiasco, kept his company performing, really did a lot of good, actually financial improvement and financial engineering conversation, and took the mess that AT&T put him in and got out of it with a really one of the greatest deals of this industry in reality. So now the point, the question that we should be asking ourselves: what will Netflix do? They're now taking the debt as well or not? Who's taking the debt? Because whoever is moving with the debt is moving with the problem, right? And why would Netflix want this? They could wait for it to crash and take the IPs. They would anyway come to me and ask for broadcasting of their IPs on my network. Or I could find a partnership. Well, why would Netflix do this now? And how did David Zaslav convince them to do this? Like, this is, and why not Paramount taking it? Why Netflix? What do you think?
I mean, I see it as a brilliant move, right? Let's be honest, Netflix shows and movies aren't as great. They used to have, maybe in the early days, they'd get better actors. They had a couple movies that they paid Leonardo DiCaprio. They had some good series, but really they haven't really broken through, in my opinion. They've done other things, like they put some comedians who are actually popular to real people on YouTube and not, whoever they want to show you and push on TV. So they've done a lot of smart moves in that respect, but I think their movies and series, they're starting to suck, to be honest. And if you can get this great of a deal that, first of all, I think what people might not appreciate, that it buys you a lot of time. If you can start showing every single Batman and Superman and every single thing that Warner owns, you don't really need to make new stuff for years, literally. So I think just the cost of production for Netflix, that they're not, let's say, experts in movie making to the same extent as Paramount or Warner Brothers. I think it just buys them so much time, and they already have the distribution. People are going to be glued to Netflix for hours and hours on end, rewatching their favorite superhero movies. So I think it's brilliant. Like, just people immersing themselves and watching Game of Thrones, if it becomes available on Netflix, I think that's the biggest leverage that maybe people miss in this situation.
Yes, you're right. And the one good move there as well, you need to take one step back and see what Netflix done over the last 2 years. So over the last 2 years, they started seeing that they are losing, and they changed the strategy from like password sharing, limiting the passwords, even going to ads, creating games, and they created, and here's where I see the geniusness of this move for Netflix. If they got out of two things, I'll tell you the two risks that I think in my mind. So for them to go and start offering the new packages with ads, which was really good, it's Netflix quality. So I go down into the $4 and the $3 and I watch movies with ads. Why the hell would I buy the premium? So I see now Netflix with this new subscribers, anyway, the whole package of HBO, and this was not like a small significant part, it's a good part of the market. They coming together with me. I can now have the chance to say, yeah, if you are on the ads, you watch, you don't watch actually Warner Brother. If you move into the premium, you watch Warner Brother. So my bet, they will do this. They will have two tiers. They will
Two-tier
put Warner
system, yeah.
Brother on the two tiers, on the higher tier, and let you watch things there. The second, they will get the top creative producers of the world on their side, but there's something that Netflix doesn't know how to do, and they now need to learn how to do,
Great
which is
movies.
theaters. Not, I would say, assuming Warner Brother guys will do the great movies,
Yeah.
but Netflix positioning has been always about the theater. About the digital, and Warner Brother is about the theater. And why, as Tom Cruise, I wouldn't do a movie with Netflix,
You're a movie star, maybe in a traditional sense.
I need to be on the theater. I need the glamour. I need to go to my opening session, and this theater network distribution, go in the cinema, this experience of Mission Impossible in theater. I don't want you to downgrade me to only show it um, on
On
a digital
digital, yeah.
platform. And that was the strength of Warner Brother. This is where Netflix needs to learn from Warner Brother how to bring again the real. It's the game that Apple does with Formula One movie, for example. The movie went to the theater first and then came to them on the digital platforms, and they're able to monetize it twice.
Right.
So that's something I think Netflix need to learn from Warner Brother, and Warner Brother need to learn from Netflix how to actually really like distribute and work on this. I see a cultural clash. This is the problem I see.
Now,
There is a cultural clash.
one thing that already appeared on social media is that this deal might not even go through. And if it doesn't go through, Netflix has to pay a breakup fee to Warner Brothers, or if Warner Brothers back out of the deal on their own, I think they have to pay also 2.5 billion or something like that as a penalty. So what are the chances that you think it actually goes through? Because there's apparently antitrust investigations from the US Department of Justice, I think the EU Commission as well, because they would have, I think it's more than 30% market share if this deal goes through, right? And then you have kind of issues that, again, they claim it's, you start to have kind of a monopoly situation that maybe it limits competition. Smaller production studios can compete. You can essentially decide the price of your subscription without being challenged if you have like a, only two or three major players in the market. So do you think this actually goes through? Are those real concerns, or is that just, some noise that will get sorted out?
We'll get through. I think the real game here on the get through is gonna be the unions or the workers, not the antitrust issues. Because honestly, how much can you really like? How many subscriptions can you have at home? Like, people wouldn't like. It's too much. It's too confusing again. Like, and I think it's the market re-regulating again. Like Netflix, you have Prime, and then maybe you have Apple, and you have one local provider for the local network you like. And like, how many can you have? And like, here's HBO, and here's RTL, and here's whatever. It's too much. It's too much. And I'm not even talking about it from financial point of view. Too much. It's too much to try to navigate this. So I think this is a market that should have 3 to 4 players at max to streamline the experience. In reality, it's not like it's not phones and gadgets, and even with phones, it normalizes again to like Apple, Samsung, and some monkeys around. Like, it's how it works. So I don't think the worry will be on the antitrust issue, because think about it. Even if it goes to Paramount, it's the same problem. I think they have two problems that they need to solve for the deal to go, and I think they will solve it. Unions, because there is a lot of layoffs. Second one is the theater owners, how the deal will be with them. Because the whole industry you can kill. Done. Like, no movies in the theaters. This is much bigger dramatic shift than anything else. So
And apparently
that's
Netflix did go see Trump before the announcement of the deal, and apparently they got his approval. So who knows? Let's see.
it's a good move for the US. Really good move for the US. I'm yet to watch how the post-merger integration will look like. This is a traumatized organization that is coming from 3-4 mergers, joining an organization that is totally on freedom and operating there.
This should be the title of the podcast today: Traumatized Organizations.
It is actually traumatized organization. Motorola is another traumatized organization.
Well, let's jump into Motorola. And we'll be watching the Netflix deal, if it goes through or not, and what are the developments over the next years.
So Motorola. Do you remember the Razor?
That's right. That's right.
Like
And a lot of
that's
people don't realize that they make other stuff outside of old cell phones. I was actually working for a semiconductor company, and we had contracts with Motorola for basically the cables aside, and it was used for like firefighter walkie-talkies and police station, which you don't even think like what, like who does that? Unless you're in the industry, you don't realize how big of a player they are in some of those spaces.
and how critical they are.
So tell us, Amir, what's the deal? What's the development with this new acquisition?
It's the deal is great from my point of view. We'll talk about the deal first, then we talk about the reflections or the history of the conversation. The deal from my point of view is one of the smoothest integrations you can really have. So Motorola historically has been selling. Now they're buying. So, and they are almost, with their new strategy, they are focusing on the mission critical networks. The one you mentioned, the police, the ambulances, the backbones of
Military.
different networks, military. And Stelvos is a very interesting technology, actually. So, done also by engineers, an amazing founder like Dr. Babak Danis Hurt, a very interesting UCLA professor that decided to build one of the most sophisticated networks or technologies in communication ever. It's kind of seems like magic or science fiction when you talk about Silvus. It's like self-healing network. So if the network or the site goes down, you are still getting service. And that service is based on the rearrangement of the network next to the nearby people who is using the network, be it a next phone or a next drone or someone. As long as we are all on this network, the transmission starts like rearranging itself, goes through this network, and then reaches the nearest station and hopes the communication continue. This is wow, because the traditional mobile communication, you have a station connected with a transport, this transport going to the base station, and that base station is arranging to the central switch, and then the communication goes through. It seems long, but this all happen in almost less than a second. Whatever communication you're having, in reality, in data services, it goes into the milliseconds, like 10 milliseconds or each. 5 milliseconds, and with 5G we can go to sub 1 millisecond, your communication going through that whole, like almost whole 9 yards with your service. But there's somehow a hierarchical way of communicating the network, while in the case of Selvos, they're talking about a completely non-centralized self-healing network. So your mobile next to my mobile, next to the mobile of our neighbor, apparently there is a drone on the top and there is a flight on the top. The network will look for any communication signal around, latch on it, and start recommunicating again and building itself. So in a case of a critical situation, oops, one of my base stations is down, no worries, my mobiles will start communicating to each other, find the next best mobile network, and then continue straight to it, and then go and communicate its communication on the next best place. Amazing
And
tech.
if I can give an example to maybe some easy situation on that we encounter on an everyday basis that people would relate to, when you're using Google Maps and it's telling you, or whatever. I know Google does it. I'm not sure about others, but when you see there's traffic in front, what it actually does, it's checking what are the cell phones in that area, basically. And I know there could also be a signal passing that instead of, let's say, for the main tower, to be relying on that to pass a signal that, hey, there's a flood coming, there's some tornado, there's some military situation, right? You can basically pass the signal, let's say, through the other phones in the proximity, through the other, think of it as nodes or individual little antennas in the area, and find the most optimal path, which would basically allow for very high bandwidth communication that even if in some parts the signal is disrupted, it's going to find some other way using software and, of course, these little nodes to get around. Would that be an accurate parallel?
Very, very interesting parallel. Actually, with Google, specifically Google Maps, they use the AGPS and the normal GPS. So the assisted GPS is what you described. So it gets assisted with a cellular station. And then the traditional GPS is where you connect to the normal GPS and see. But they also use crowd data from their own company. Not many people know that Google Maps own Waze. So Waze collects the data on the crowd, visits at techniques and then push it to E. Very similar to here, because then the network will reorganize itself based on any transmitting network object around it. I don't need a centralized router. I will move to the next phone and then continue communicating with it, which is amazing use case that solves a clear problem in the strategy of mission critical networks, where actually Motorola is just owning. They're focusing on one niche, and this was their recovery strategy under another amazing leader, where he created Greg Brown. Actually, he made his recovery strategy of Motorola based on a niche. We are Motorola. We're the ones who transmitted the voice. We are the only company that we can claim that we have transmitted the voice from the moon when everyone else was trying to dial up a phone call. And that pride of Motorola and like the big things, Motorola got diluted on a Motorola smartphone, or got diluted, with all the respect, but got diluted there on a Motorola smartphone, or got diluted there on building mobile networks and competing with Nokia's and
Siemens.
Ericsson's and Huawei's of the world. Actually, they sold it to Nokia Siemens. So an interesting recovery strategy. Motorola has been always a sizable company. They never claimed to be the trillion-dollar company. They didn't play that game. We are the 11 billion, 20 billion, 30 billion company that actually does what no one can do. We are the mission critical. And Greg, with his famous quote that actually culture trumps strategy every time, he's living his word. So this is a well-selected target. I didn't even need to wait to know it will succeed. It's engineers acquiring engineers. Both are aligned in one mission around mission critical. Both are thinking about the greater good of critical and catastrophic situation, acquiring a small niche technology on the same direction and moving on with it. Very smooth sailing into a very non-smooth market. And I love it. Leaders like Greg, I would love to continue observing how they're doing it. Actually, is moving from a losing business to a high margin business, acquiring another high margin business, aligned with my strategy, fulfilling my value chain. This is a textbook successful merger, man. You don't even need to look for it. And Motorola is really going back into its own track of greatness here. What do you think?
The first, when I was kind of doing my research in this topic, the first thing that seemed like a logical next step is expanding into the drone, unmanned vehicle space. They already have all these contracts. They just, kind of added on to their ground-based walkie-talkie and ground-based communication systems. Now they got potentially space communication as well. It seems like the logical next step. I'm sure they got a great bunch of engineers. And even if they don't produce the hardware in-house, you could see them partnering up with or acquire other companies that are hardware specialists potentially. So
Yeah,
I think that's the next logical step. If you say their mindset is to kind of make smart, calculated moves, it seems like the logical next step.
I think we should have a full episode about defense industry and what's happening in it, because now I see everyone going and buying. Let's buy these big firefighters. Let's buy these big submarines and all of that. The next war will not be this. The next war is already happening in front of us. It's a $2,000 drone disturbing the whole communication of everything, and Motorola is critical in that. So yeah, another good measure. But let's talk about AI before we close the session.
Yes,
What do
and
you think
basically
of the code?
the news are that Sam Altman announced code red in the company, and that's something similar that happened to Google in the past when ChatGPT had some updates. So it's quite ironic that now it's the other way around, that Google is making noise with its Gemini model, the latest ones, and Sam Altman had a big focus on rolling out the ad programs. I know some people were even seeing ads within ChatGPT already, which we touched a little bit in the past, but I think it's going to become a bigger topic going forward. So he decided to pause all of the other non-essential, let's say, non-critical side quests and to focus on actually making ChatGPT better. So what are your thoughts on this, Amir? Is there anything else to the story that's important?
We've talked a lot about Sam Altman here. and about what's happening in OpenAI. Even last a few episodes, we were talking about the one of actually how to call it the fastest $1 trillion company in history, and the way we talked also about the speed that they are actually producing products with, and maybe this is the only company that is currently being run by AI itself in reality. We also talked about how OpenAI changed DNA by moving from building the first AGI on an open environment to trying to be profit organization dedicated to like profit capped models of money in reality. So Sam Altman was a big shocks into his management style, like getting stepping out, stepping in, Microsoft stepping in. You can always see that OpenAI is in the middle of a drama since they started all the time, and that reminds me of actually Netscape. And do you remember Netscape?
I do, but if you don't mind giving the listeners a quick context.
So in the beginning of browsers, there was Microsoft and Explorer and Netscape. And at this time, Netscape was the biggest hype. Like everyone was like,
Didn't AOL have something as well?
yes, they did. Actually, but Netscape was the real horse, like the same where OpenAI is for us now. Like almost a new industry called browsers, and then Netscape is coming and like really kicking ass, going all in, all in, all in. And then a steady growing, really well established entrepreneurial slash corporate organization, Microsoft, steps in and slowly but gradually grabs through its ecosystem the Explorer, and then oops, Netscape doesn't exist anymore. I hope we are not watching a Netscape now. And there's few reasons here. It's still recoverable actually, because there's a lot of play here in the game. There's a lot at stake. So OpenAI is moving very fast, producing products and features all the time. Some would see it fantastic. Some would see it, oops, it's overwhelming. I cannot know what is happening anymore. And Sam Altman started so early to talk about cost cuts, the cost of saying thank you to the engine. The engine needs to be politically correct. There is a lot of hands playing in the back of there. Let's create new revenue streams. Too early. You're already starting ahead with $30 subscription, $25 subscription, $250 subscription. You should be able to monetize here. But why he's not able to monetize is he's relying a lot on things that are outside of his ecosystem. It's NVIDIA and Microsoft Azure. And Microsoft is relying on their models. So there's an interdependency here between Microsoft Azure and OpenAI models. And this interdependency always makes OpenAI lost case. It's not going to make money, even with the $30 premium. While when you set the $30 premium, you give the chance to Gemini to already find a new revenue stream. Google has been always like free based on ads, exact opposite of OpenAI. And now, why not? Let's take some subscriptions. Let's take AI everywhere and then include it. And then the steady Google move slowly with its own TPU as well, with its own ecosystem on the cloud, with its own ecosystem on everything, start to create a fantastic model slowly. You know this quote about horse races, like stupid horses run first. And maybe Google is actually now proving the point again that we have been always meant to win this game. That the founder or the godfather of AI, Hopkins, always said it, like, I have no doubt that Google will win the AI game. And when these people talk, you should listen. And that Sam Altman had some effort to do, like Code Red is a good move now, but I hope he doesn't pass panic into the organization and like start cutting everything and then maybe learn from the other panic moves from Blockbuster or others, or moving outside of ego or whatever. It's time to listen to the mentors around him as well. Like I don't think Satya would leave him to crash it. And I don't think also Jensen Johan will leave him to crash it. There's a lot of interdependency here. There's an ecosystem supporting him, and they would maybe let him learn some lessons, but I think they will step in the right moment to gain that. But Google is proving that they're Google. They know what they're doing, actually. And I think this is where be the lesson I would think about here. And if I would give an advice to Sam Altman here, I would say, look at Netflix again. Look at how the culture core of Netflix is what made Netflix go through all the moves that they have done over the last 25 years to go from no one to the one. And I think with the people surrounding Sam Altman, maybe he needs to listen to Reed, because he's the one that went through the journey from a disruptor to the market, really moving in and coming up with his own equation about, I think, culture is the thing, and what he have really screwed is his culture by all the moves he have done over the last 1 year. Still we cannot dispute is one of the greatest stories of this decade, actually, OpenAI. And I don't think it's not over yet. They can still be the 1 billion, the 1 trillion, the fastest 1 trillion company, and they should start thinking first again into the product and stop this all fiasco. Let's coster like ChatGPT now. When you ask it questions over, it's very visible in the last model. It's like playing. It's like a political monkey. It's trying to play around the questions, not giving straight answers. And no, that's great. I don't want you to kiss my ass. I want you to answer the question, and let's get things done here. So that would be my thoughts. What do you think?
I have actually a lot of strong opinions on this topic, but I know that you also have a time constraint for some very important meetings. So
I would love to hear your strong opinion, and our audience would want to.
okay, well, I use AI tools every day. I've used all of them: Cursor, Replit, anything.xyz, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, and you name them, right? And I manage AI, and I use them for different tasks. Some are better at coding, some are better at data formatting or whatever the case may be. And I find ChatGPT has been lagging for quite some time. I actually feel like they're going to become the Apple of the industry in some sense. That they might be sitting on this big pile of cash. As you said, they have this big ecosystem supporting them. You got deals with Oracle, you got deals with NVIDIA. They have too much at stake to let them fail. But I don't think they can innovate. Like as soon as I use Google, initially before they had the Nano Banana, the image generation and the coding parts, like it was already comparatively better to ChatGPT. Maybe the UX UI wasn't that great, but I always thought they have so much search data. They have the cloud infrastructure. They have YouTube. Just this alone with their smart engineers you can leverage. Now what they're doing is, like I even tried building applications on different websites, and I'm trying the same prompt on different ones to compare how they do. And Gemini just blows them out of the water. And I can integrate real-time data from Google Search, or if I work within the Google ecosystem, right? And I use, Gmail, I use Google Drive. You can build different even automations, and they have their AI studio. It's unbelievable. Like they have the ecosystem to win it all. And my prediction would be that Grok, Google, Gemini, and potentially Perplexity as a weaker third will be the top three AI LLM companies 10 years from now. I think ChatGPT is going to be like Apple, where they might have a lot of money because of this ecosystem they build up, but be second to innovate and maybe make it look prettier. Maybe the UX UI is going to be a little bit better, less clunky, but I think they're going to be number 4 or lower. That's kind of my initial reaction.
I kind of agree. I think they will not be number 1 anymore. They would either take the space of Microsoft, somehow become the co-pilot. And Copilot will take the lead here as the face, and probably it's time to really look at a little bit how they are running things. But I am totally agreeing with you. I'm wowed by what Google is doing there, to be honest. And sorry for saying the name of the godfather of AI. It's actually Geoffrey Hinton. And Geoffrey Hinton is the guy that actually said that Google will win the race anyway. And again, I think you named it well. They have the whole ecosystem under their control. So good.
That was a lot
So
to
shall
digest for this week, Amir. Maybe, yeah, we'll see you next week. It's a pleasure as always. Good luck with your next meeting.
Thank you. I'd like to close it with culture trumps strategy all the time, because I think this is the theme of the whole three stories today. How culture is going to be the big question in the Netflix acquisition, how culture is the big strength in the Motorola story, and how culture actually messing around with culture is the big question mark in the OpenAI Code Red story. So I'll leave it there. Thanks, Alex, as usual, and
See
have
you.
a lovely week.
Thanks
Cheers,
to our
man.
audience. Bye bye.